How did I first meet Scotty? That's it's an interesting question for me because I don't remember like an individual first meeting, like an individual instance. What I more remember is that I was dating a girl at the time. And after a certain point, after meeting your little brother and the rest of his friend group or her friend group, you just kind of being around after a certain point. And I remember before we met, just hearing that you were really cool, that you were somebody I would like, and because my brain wasn't and maybe still isn't fully formed, people telling me that I'm gonna like something makes me go, no, I won't. And so I remember not meeting you for a little while because I was like, don't tell me what I'll like. And then I do remember that after we did meet, becoming very fast friends, and being very close for quite a long time. So I don't have like an individual instance, but more just you being around and then us meeting and becoming fast friends and all
Yeah,
that kind of
I
stuff.
my experience is similar. I tried to think back to like when it had to have been like I'm sure it's probably like a church or something, but um I don't remember. Yeah. When did we was it probably like 2009?
I think it had to have been before that because I graduated high school in '08. And I remember like you were with me at my first day of college, which was in '09. So it had to have been like
Oh,
2006, 2007, I
yeah.
think.
Wow,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it was
Okay.
right because I would have been
Yeah,
16
maybe it's
in
been 20 years.
'06. I think I started dating that girl my sophomore year of high school, maybe junior year of high school, somewhere around there, which would have been '06, '07. So probably in that range. Yeah, it has
Yeah,
been 20 years,
20,
man.
20 years, 2 decades.
Yeah, it's been quite a
Wow,
while.
that's insane. Yeah, things I remember from back then, I remember that you were very excited about, like, adventure like, just doing things, like, going and seeing things and doing things, and I just feel like I don't really know what we did, I just feel like we just always were, like, just doing something, like, driving somewhere. That's just kinda I feel like just the crux of, like, "Hey, what are you doing today? Let's just go do something."
Yeah, I remember well, I remember being kind of the opposite at first. Like probably, and you may not remember this just because it was like when we first met, but um, I felt like I was more so reserved, especially in that relationship at the time. And so a lot of what you were describing, I think, came later, came in when you're remembering like 2009-ish after she and I broke up. I don't know if you remember, but she broke up with me like the night I moved into college. It was actually before college started because I moved in earlier.
Oh, yeah, and
Like
y'all
I must
both
have been
went
a
to the
week
same
before.
college.
Yeah, we made that decision together, which is funny how that works out. Um, but he was very much bouncing back from that, like a lot of people will rebound in more romantic or those sorts of ways, and I rebounded just by like being like, okay, well, I've been in this relationship for a couple of years, however long it was, I don't even really remember now. Probably not 2 years, but for a while.
It
And
felt like
being
a
like,
really long time.
it did, and I want to say it was more than a year, less than two, but I honestly don't remember. It's been so long now. But I remember being like, okay, I've been in this relationship for a long time. I don't really know who I am anymore because, I wouldn't have had these words then, but like those are fairly formative years, I think. Um, and so being like, okay, well, like, who am I? Like, am I outside of this relationship? And I remember telling myself, even just going into college, like, if I'm afraid to do something, if I'm not doing something because like I'm too nervous or feeling too anxious, like I'm just gonna do it. Like I'm just gonna shut off that part of my brain. I'm just gonna go do it. And that led to a lot of that adventurism and just sort of like, um, just sort of doing stuff for the experience and saying like, okay, how did this make me feel? Did I like this? Did I not like this? And trying to find more of those informed decisions. And so
I feel like that's
I
pretty,
also
like, healthy way to, like, approach that part of a youth, I think, is just, like
no, 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 no. I am
What?
describing it as healthy. It was not. This is the lens of the future looking backward. But I do remember a part of that was you like I remember shortly after we met, you exposing me to like movies that I had never heard of or seen before, and especially like I remember you'd make like we called them mixtapes, but like burnt CDs and stuff, or little like iPod playlists of
Mhm.
music that I had never heard that I've never been exposed to. So I think a lot of that being part of our relationship started the other way of me being like I had no idea all this cool, very artistic stuff existed. Um, just because I was very reserved and maybe sheltered is the right word, maybe it's not, but just not knowing anything about the world and you sort of showing me like, hey, this cool art stuff exists, and then moving out from there and being like, well, I think I want to see some more of what the world has to offer. And
I think there was some synergy there and like where we were both at in life too, of just kind of yeah, figuring it out and kind of what is the next chapter supposed to be, or like, am I supposed to even know what the next chapter is, or do I just need to exist as the page like turns or whatever. But I kind of felt like likewise too. I mean, there were definitely things specific, like tangible things like movies and music and things that you also introduced me to that like have forever like branded themselves in the back of my brain, like Jack's Mannequin and stuff. That was like
Mm.
that was music that was not on my radar that I know because of you. And then I think too, just like I think a thing that I early on really appreciated was we would watch something or we would like let's just like listen to an entire Jack's Mannequin album and talk about it. And that was just how I remember like you would stay at my house and we would just like lay there in the middle of the night just like talking about these like songs and stuff and kind of like I don't know, investigating why something is the way it is, a piece of art like that. That was I didn't have a lot of friends that would I had a lot of friends that would do things with me that way, but they wouldn't want to sit there and talk about it that way, and that was something I really appreciated back then.
That's interesting. I've never really thought about that before, but I think that's how I approach just a lot of things. Um, like I think that even now, like one of my big hobbies is like video gaming and stuff. And a lot of the time I'll play something and I'll be introduced to some game system or mechanic or whatever. And I spend a lot of time thinking like, okay, I like this or I don't like this, which I think is, maybe where some people stop. But I'm like, why? What is it? What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? Am I wrong? Like, do I think that I don't like it, but it's actually not as bad as I'm thinking? And just try to understand. I don't know. I want to understand me a lot, and I don't know if that's like a weird control thing, but like I want to understand why stuff makes me feel a certain way or what I'm supposed to feel from it. Like.
Do you feel like that now, even like at your old age? Do you think that's now still something you're constantly trying to like figure out? A question you're constantly asking yourself?
I think I do it less because I think as you figure out the things that you like, or at least I gravitate more toward them, and so
Mhm.
I mean, this resembles that, and so I know that I like it. I've already explored why I like it, but I do think that when I encounter new things, and actively seek those out, whatever it is, whether it's like movies or games or I've gotten into board gaming and stuff. Um, I think I still do it. Especially like one of the things that I think about a lot actually is like Marvel movies these days because um I've always been a huge superhero fan. But I also like one of my undergrad degrees is in like mass communication with like a specialization in film, and so like I like to think that I'm at least educated on some amount of looking at film with a critical eye, right? But I love Marvel movies. In a way that like I'm almost ashamed of because like even some of the bad ones I'm like, but when I went to the theater and I saw it and I said, or even in my house when I saw it on streaming, I enjoyed the experience. So it cannot be a bad movie because I sat down and I enjoyed myself, and that's the point of entertainment. But I can sit here and I can pick out and I can tell you all the reasons it's bad or it's not, a quote unquote film or it's not artistic or like whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm like, but I can't rate it lower than a 6 because I had a good time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I spend a lot of time thinking about like when you're comparing them, how good are they? When you're trying to rate them on some sort of scale, like is it lower than a 6? Like, or even like I like exploring the idea of why are people tired of them? Why don't people like them anymore? And I think about one of the sort of theories that I've been pioneering in like the little group of people that I talk to is like because I'm also a math guy, is that when Marvel movies first started coming out, on average, I think they're about the same quality. I think that, yeah, maybe it was a little higher, maybe it was a little lower, but on average they were about the same quality. The problem is you'd get like a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. So what you'd see, unfortunately, I'm gonna be really boring. People are gonna hate listening to this, but like the variance was a bit higher, right? And now what's happened is they've become more formulaic. One, it's less novel, but number two, like that variance has shrunk, and so we're getting a lot more. Whereas before you might get like 9, 9, 4, like
Mhm.
it sort of averages out to like maybe a 6 or a 7. Now we're getting a lot more 7 on the dot, 7 on the dot, 6.5 on the dot, and then occasionally you'll get like an 8.5. And so that variance is just like it's a very slim band, and that makes it feel watered down and boring. And so that's my sort of like theory that I'm like, it's not that they're worse. They're the same on average. It's just that you get lower highs and higher lows. And
Yeah, and
um
it's kind of yeah. If you're not, oh, there's something to those earlier ones. I mean, I've always been a big critic of Marvel movies, partly because they became such a part of the zeitgeist so quickly, and that's what, especially a certain generation, view as like cinema and things. And I've gotten in so many arguments with people over there's a difference between packaging movies as like entertainment and packaging movie and like creating a piece of art that is a piece of
Absolutely.
cinema. And those
Absolutely.
two things can coexist. There can be entertainment that is also art, but there's also things like there are movies specifically in that realm that are just created in a boardroom of they've done all the studies and they're like, well, we need this beat here and this beat here, and then we'll turn this into a roller coaster and make money here, and this will be a toy, and everything is just a product. And that you're using artists to make that. A lot of the special effects and stuff take incredible talent to do. And these actors, there's a lot of talent there putting this together, but they're just putting together a product. And then when
So,
you oversaturate the market with that, I think that is where you also get people like they just feel everything starts feeling like stale almost because it's like, oh, we've already seen this before.
and I think oversaturation is a very salient point. I think a lot of people have mentioned it, but what's interesting to me about what you said is I don't disagree with a single thing that you said. But what's very interesting about Marvel movies is that you can have those same created in a boardroom. It's like the quote unquote summer blockbuster effect, right? It's
Mhm.
never going to be nominated for an Oscar. It's just there to get people in seats. Like the average
Yeah.
moviegoer goes, they have a good time. I think most Marvel movies, definitely not all of them, are above that average. They fall above that line, right? They may still be summer blockbusters, but they're like the best summer blockbusters, which might still all be worse than like the worst Oscar movie or whatever. That might still be true. It's not art, whatever. And I think they could take larger swings, certainly, and they could sort of toe that line better. I'm not gonna be here and be like, everyone needs to like, I'm not evangelizing Marvel movies. I just like them. Um, but like that's what's interesting to me is like one movie franchise that I famously kind of I say famously that I kind of hate is like the Transformers movies. Like I
Mhm.
saw the first one, I thought it was awesome. I think I saw the second or third one. One of them was just the writing was so bad that I was like, I'm done with these forever. Like these are
Yeah.
terrible movies. The plot was awful, and people love them. Like they went on to make what like 5, 6 movies, something. And I think like just about every Marvel movie is better than those Transformer movies. That might
Yeah.
be controversial. I don't know. I don't honestly really care. But like that's just my perspective on them. Like I think that the Marvel movies tend to be well above average for that entertainment focused created in a boardroom style. And so that's interesting to me as I'm like, they're doing the bad thing, but they're doing it really good and I don't understand why. You know
Well,
what
and
I
as like
mean?
someone who's like very much like, oh, people just go to the movie theater. I definitely like catch myself like, at least people are going. At least people are
Yeah.
still keeping movies alive. But it is interesting how we all have our own perspective on why we seek that stuff out and what we're trying to like get from it, and we just expect everyone else is showing up in the same way. So whenever I leave, yeah, a Transformers movie, well, I don't really ever go to those. But if I were to go to one and leave, well, that was dumb. I know that I was going hoping to be fulfilled in a different way than just like, "Oh, it's hot outside. Let's just go watch stuff blow up for a couple hours, like, that'll be fun."
Yep.
And, like, that's not usually why I go to see a movie or why I decide, like, that's the one I'm gonna go spend $20 on, you know?
Yep.
And yeah, it's kind of like checking yourself a little bit of like, why does this matter to you in a different way? And it's also okay that it matters to you in a different way, you know? Same thing like music and stuff. I have several people in my life who I know that just they don't really like care about things like music and stuff. And to me, like my like favorite bands and like the music I decide to listen to when I'm like getting ready in the morning, everything like there's a purpose behind it all. Like this is the mood I want to be in. So I'm gonna listen to this. It means something to me. And then I like meet somebody and they're like, I don't even have a favorite band. And it's like, how do you exist in the world? Like how? It's crazy.
You know what's so funny is I feel like I am that person that you described.
What? Not having a favorite band or what?
Yeah, like or at the very least, like my favorite. So I don't have a favorite band that I have discovered in the last 5 years, right? Like I would still say my favorite band is probably, if not the exact thing it was the last time you and I like hung out in person, it's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Just because
I
I
think that's
don't
pretty
think,
standard though.
well, I just it's the same album, it's the same songs. It's that like I have moved a lot from listening to music to listening to like podcasts, listening to especially like narrative focused stuff, a little bit of like audiobooks, but more so like narrative focused podcasts. So a lot of like the actual plays and just story, right? I'm trying to consume
Mhm.
story all the time. That said, like when I do find new music, I get like weirdly into it.
Yeah.
Like I just discovered Epic the Musical, which one funny thing, I mean you know this, but like one funny thing about me is I don't look like I would be a musical guy, and I am the biggest musical guy. So Epic the Musical, from what I understand, is like an interpretation of Homer's The Odyssey that was written by this guy who was in college, and it's like it was never actually made into a musical, but it's like this conceptual idea of a musical. I don't know if anything's happening with it. It was created a few years ago, but I just discovered it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and cannot stop listening to it, and also wake up every morning singing songs from it. Like
Oh yeah.
I cannot get it out of my head. And so that's how I engage with music. It's like I don't know that I have a favorite, but when I find something that I really like, I just consume it until I can't anymore. Like I think the last one before this was like K-pop Demon Hunters, and I know that's like a big like was super popular, but that soundtrack is fire, and I work out to it. So I'm like in the gym being this like hairy, generally more shaven but like bald, bearded dude, just like blaring K-pop Demon Hunters in my headphones. It does not look
Amazing.
like what I would be listening to, but I'm very much that meme or whatever, that
I find
stereotype.
myself doing that kind of like repetitive, like almost obsessive thing with specifically with entertainment too. I think because when I find something again that like connects with me emotionally, whatever emotion like it hits with me, I like want to chase that. I
Mhm.
want to get as much out of that as I possibly can until then it's like I never want to hear that song ever again. But it's like the number one song I listened to that year because I just could not stop giving myself that feeling again. Almost maybe like in a twisted way. I don't know, especially something that like moves me, like a movie or something. I'm like, "Oh, I need to like watch that again. I need to cry again or something." I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, I won't rewatch stuff by myself, but I will with other people, and that is my version of doing that, of being like, "It doesn't matter what you feel about this is me experiencing it again. This is me
Yeah.
giving myself that excuse."
Do you like sharing that stuff with people? I love whenever there's like a movie that I feel like really, really hit all the notes and really impacted me. All I want to do then is like watch that. I want to experience it with people experiencing it the first time.
Even if it's not experiencing with them, I do love sharing it, because I'm
Yeah.
just like the 2 things that I really like are, one, like, this hit with me so well, it almost gives an insight into who I am. So like I need you to watch it or listen to it or whatever because I need you to understand me better. And then there's the other side of that, which I really like, and I do it a lot with like my gaming group and stuff, of like I feel like I understand you well enough that I think this hits all your boxes. And so I am very slow to give a recommendation, or I'll give recommendations with caveats until I'm like really sure that somebody's gonna like something. Like I'll hold back those recommendations, or I'll be like, this is something I liked. I'm not sure that you'll like it. Which is very much so that I can be like, hey, I know a lot of people in your life are telling you stuff's good all the time. This is me coming to you saying, I recommend this. I want you to understand how much weight that has, because I don't say it unless I
Mhm.
am sure. And generally, I think I have a pretty good track record of being pretty spot on when I do sort of
You
put
know,
that out there.
there are 2 very pivotal pieces of entertainment that are 2 of my, like, go-to favorites that you introduced me to, and one of those is The Office. I had never watched it until we I think you had the DVDs or something, and we watched it, and that became such a, like, pivotal part of my life, and then Arrested Development. That was something else that was not on my radar to watch. I think maybe I'd, like, seen a few episodes here and there, but it didn't, like, click for me, so it wasn't until I think we binge watched maybe a season or something of it, and then on our cross country road trip, you had it, like, playing from your laptop whenever we were, like, in the middle of nowhere. It was, like, this, like, constant, like, dialogue, which that was, like, an interesting experience to I heard most of that season or whatever it was, and then to go back and watch it and be like, "Oh, that's what that joke is," because I hadn't, like, actually seen it. But those 2 shows are just those are my, like, kind of, like, comfort shows, at this point in my life.
Yeah, and one thing I appreciate about you is that you will go back and give things a second chance, and not just that, but you'll give them time. Like, I know a lot of people, and this is a fair criticism, I think, but a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I hate stuff that like you gotta watch 2 seasons for it to get good," or like blah blah blah, or like whatever. Like that's not a good show. It's got to do that, and I agree with that philosophically, but I do appreciate that if somebody comes to you with that sort of premise of like, "Hey, you got to get through the first season. It's bad. It will become better in retrospect later." You'll take that mindset and you'll put yourself in that mindset and be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how we are watching it. We are watching it with this mindset. And you'll take it for sort of that context, more so than any other person I've ever met, really.
And I think I still am that way for the most part. I do have like friends now who like we'll be talking about like a show or something, and they'll be very forward with it. They're like, "You're not gonna like this." I'm like, I kind of appreciate that too. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you're not expecting me to like waste my time trying to pretend to try to find something out of this when you just know like it's not gonna check my boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of
Um,
that road trip and Transformers, there's a lot of through lines here already. When we went to LA, we went to the Transformers 2 red carpet. Remember that?
I do remember. I did not remember Sir Transformers 2, but I remember
Transformers
being at a
2.
red carpet. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Megan Fox from afar. Kim Kardashian was there. I about I don't know 7 or 8 years ago, I went and looked through that footage again just to like see what all was there. And yeah, that was back when Kim Kardashian was like barely a name. We were in her presence.
I
Uh,
remember. I remember learning who the Kardashians were because you were excited about that. And I
yeah,
remember still like because this is a joke I've heard people make since then, but I remember us having the actual conversation of like me being like, "But what are they famous for?" And you being like,
yeah.
"For being famous." And I'm like,
I'm pretty sure we got in an argument over this. Like,
I'm like, "You cannot be famous for being famous. There has to be something she is famous for." And you're
no,
like,
they totally
"Nah,
shot me
man."
up too. It's like it's just she's famous. That's all I can say. But hey, she got to walk the red carpet. We didn't get to do that, so she definitely
I
had an
mean,
upper hand there.
that's
That
true.
theater that was at famously like closed down. All these theaters in LA have been closing in the past couple of years, and they're trying to like get that one like back going. But whenever I lived in LA, anytime I was in that part of town, I just like oh that's where that was like the closest we. Well, that trip we actually got really close to like Hollywood a lot because we had that. We saw the Cameron Diaz star ceremony.
Hmm.
We got to go to the Jimmy Kimmel taping.
Yeah,
Like
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was
that was a
very
lot
cool.
of we had a very Hollywood experience on that trip.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was very random from what I remember. We just kind of showed up and hung out,
Yeah, I
drove around.
recently was telling somebody I have a coworker from St. Louis, and we were at like a work thing, and we were talking about I was at a work thing in Minnesota a couple weeks ago, and we were staying in this really small town, and the hotel that we got put up in was just really sketchy. And we ended up like a few hours later deciding like we can't stay here. So we like called our operations person. We got booked at just like a Holiday Inn down the road because like we just like we were like we it feels haunted. There's like spiders. Like we just can't do it. But as we were driving to the new hotel, it was like reminding me of a little bit of the excitement, but also the fear of our whole like farmhouse story on that trip. But in telling that story to my coworker, I was like, wow, like that was a crazy thing that I don't think most people could ever do. B, especially nowadays, we're so reliant on our phones and technology and stuff. Like we literally left and just drove across the country without a GPS. All we have is a paper map. That's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
That's insane.
yeah. And I think we had cell service sometimes. I don't really even honestly remember. I remember it was mostly paper map.
Yeah, because
Um,
we didn't have smartphones because that was just before that. I think what we would do is when we would stop somewhere with Wi-Fi. I actually have this vivid memory of us being in like a Starbucks parking lot or something, using Wi-Fi to go on Yahoo Maps to find some roadside thing we were trying to go see or
that
something.
sounds
But
right because I did have my laptop.
yeah,
So I do remember we would like connect occasionally because we also looked up like yes, just like some touristy, like very, very touristy things. Like, didn't we go to like the world's biggest ball of shoes or something? Like,
yeah, it was like the world's largest shoe made of shoes or something.
yeah,
And then we saw the world's largest ball of stamps.
that's what it was. Yeah,
I think that was the one that was the same day as the farmhouse thing because that was all the same day that Michael Jackson died.
yeah. Because if I remember correctly, we were at one of these tourist traps and we had spent a couple of days just like pulling over for a few hours and sleeping in like a grocery store parking lot in the car, basically.
Yeah.
And we were talking about what we were gonna do because we didn't have any money. Um, so hotels, especially for several days, were like not super an option. And somebody overheard us talking and was just like, "Hey, I've got this place that I'm not using. You guys could just stay there." Which I'm not 100% sure that guy owned that place, to be honest, in
Remember,
retrospect.
I feel like he told us when we got because we decided to follow him to this house in the middle of nowhere.
Stupidest decision we've ever made, by the way.
Dumb
Also,
decision.
I have never told anyone this story. So
Oh,
no one knows that I went to like a second location and could have probably been murdered. So
yeah.
anyone who listened, like, I'm not going to tell my parents about this podcast because I don't want them to find out this way.
Well, that was like the one night that we decided not to check in with our parents for some reason. Probably because
Mm.
we knew we'd get in trouble or whatever because we were being dumb. But
Yeah.
I feel like when we got to that house, he told us that he was like house sitting for a friend of his, but he'd been house sitting for like 10 years. We were just like, what does this mean? Like,
It was a very I don't remember the details, but I do remember it being a very weird story where like it wasn't his house or like so he was somehow communicated that he was in legitimate possession of it, even
yeah,
if he didn't own it, which is the part that I don't believe.
yeah.
I don't believe if he was in possession of it, I don't believe that it was legit. I think we broke into someone's house. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Either that or he used this as his ploy to get people there, and that's where those jars of meat come into play. I don't know.
Yeah, there were
That
a
was
lot of jars of things being pickled, which is like, I mean, that's a normal hobby you're allowed to have, but also, as an 18-year-old who wasn't exposed to enough of the world, it looked like people were being murdered. I'm just going to say that.
yeah, it was weird because we could not recognize what was in the jar. There were like belts and Bibles laying around, that weird rocking or that weird wheelchair as like the living room furniture. There were all these like little horror movie things. The stacks of like mattresses in the one room, all these things, like none of these things like added up to a normal situation.
There was no AC, which was
Yeah.
weird to me because it was extremely hot. And despite there being virtually no furniture, there was like a big, super nice TV,
Yeah.
which was also weird. I don't know, like, and don't get me wrong, I no judgment on how people live, but like it felt like we should not stay there, and so we
Yeah.
did not.
I'm glad we left, but my favorite memory of that whole moment was when we went up the attic stairs, had our whole freak out up there because we thought we saw something, ran back down, ran to the car, and I couldn't figure out how to like get out besides just turning the car around. And so I vividly remember us just like yelling at each other and me having to do like a 15-point turn to get the car to turn around while we're just screaming. And then we get back onto like the gravel road, and then you start freaking out because we had left the windows down for whatever reason, and you were freaking out because you were like afraid someone was in the back seat. And then we're like giggling about that. There's a lot of like screaming and giggling happening.
Yeah,
uh,
well, I mean, I think it was excitement. I don't think so. Don't get me wrong. There was actual fear. Like, I actually thought that this was not legitimately we needed to get out of there, obviously, because we did. But it also was, I think, like ramped up. Like it was
yeah,
overexcited, and so I didn't feel like we were in imminent danger. I felt we were in delayed danger.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. At the end of the day, it was still dumb. Like you learn growing up not to talk to strangers, and we not only talked to a stranger, we in a town we'd never been into. We followed him into a farmhouse in the middle of cornfields in the middle of the night for whatever reason. But I think I texted you whenever I was one time. So Missouri is basically the halfway point between Fargo and Atlanta. So if I've ever driven home, I always stop, usually in St. Louis as my like, halfway point. But I was on my way back, probably my first time actually doing that drive. And I was near Kansas City and it was clicking for me. I was like, oh, that town is like in the suburbs here of Kansas City somewhere. So I'm just going to pull off and like see if I can retrace steps to figure out where this was. And I was able to find the gas station with the Subway that we had like stopped at.
Mm.
And I was able to find the little bar where like the ball of twine was or whatever, but I could not for the life of me figure out where this house was.
He was
Which
in the middle of nowhere, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it was because he said it was close, and then it was like a
Yeah.
15 or 20-minute drive. Like, it was not close.
Which in hindsight, I wonder maybe if it actually was, if he was planning on murdering us, then maybe it was close. He just took a really convoluted way to get there to like throw us off.
Mm.
Or he just didn't know what the word close actually means. I don't know. But
I don't know.
that was a really fun, that's been one of my like favorite like life stories. I've told that story a lot at like campfires and stuff. I always make it a little scarier than well, yeah, they're right. The fear that we had was like fun, like excitement fear. But it's a great like campfire story. And I cleaned that, and it's the only thing from that. We've recorded a lot of videos and stuff on my camera that whole trip, and that's the only like footage I have left because I saved that to my laptop at one point, and I had everything on an external hard drive. And the very first night I moved to Fargo, my car got broken into, and they stole this whole bag of stuff, and in that bag of stuff was that hard drive. So all the rest of that trip, I have little clips here and there from like things like for some reason I have a few clips of us climbing on those like abandoned like cafe buildings wherever in New Mexico where
Yeah.
you scratched your leg open. I have random little videos of that, but the bulk of it is that farmhouse thing, and then everything else is lost. Someone out there has our video, but
Remember when I told you that not saying no to stuff was not a healthy way to? Yeah, I did a lot of dumb
exactly.
shit, man. Like a lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. We were so young and just naive enough too that I do remember whenever you cut your leg open, I just remember thinking like, oh, well, now our trip's ruined because like he's gonna get a disease or we're gonna end up at the hospital. He's gonna get his leg amputated. Like I had all these like big fears, when we were like I think going to the Carlsbad Caverns or something, and I was like, oh, like at the end of the day, no, it's just like he just scraped his leg, like we're fine. But
I remember being exactly the opposite of being like, ah, it's probably fine.
I think
When
I
I
forced
probably should
you.
have been more nervous, but
I forced you to. I was like, we're gonna go buy some hydrogen peroxide. We're cleaning this out so your leg doesn't get
probably the correct decision. I was like, nah, just a scratch. Scratch never hurt
Wow.
anybody.
I saved your life. I
A
saved your
scratch definitely has hurt people, for the record.
life. Yeah. My other, actually, speaking of that trip, my other thing I recently remembered was when we got to Chicago, we were going to we were going to stay at my brother's house that one night or whatever. And we had the address, we had the instructions that the back door was going to be unlocked. And when we got to what we thought was his house, because we had written down the address, the back door wasn't unlocked. So we were like, oh, maybe we got the numbers mixed up. So we went back to the front of the street to like the other house that had the same numbers but switched, and their back door was unlocked. And we walked in and we were like looking around, and I was like, I don't recognize anybody in these pictures. And we broke into someone's house and we were like, oh, this is not the right house.
Did we
Kid.
lock the door behind us? Because maybe we should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun. So I'm trying to remember the last time I saw you. I think it was when you lived in West Midtown area somewhere.
Okay.
And
That would have been
you
right
were
after college for me. So that would have been between 2012 and 2014. See, the good thing is about you remembering where I live is that for quite a while I moved roughly every 2 years. So that legitimately narrows it to like a 2 to 4 year period.
oh, there we go. Perfectly. Yeah, because I remember you lived there. I worked at Atlantic Station. Did you work at the World of Coke?
I did for people who may be listening to this, all, 2 listeners or whatever. Um, I got a degree in mass communication and a degree in mathematics. Decided that all I had done my whole life was like academics, so I wanted to not do that. So I backed out of going to grad school for math and decided to just figure it out. So in the interim, I worked for the World of Coke for, I mean, it's just like a summer, maybe like 4 months, and then ended up finding a job and worked there for just under 2 years before actually going back to school and getting like a master's in math and stuff. Um, so that's a big part of why like I was moving a lot is because I would
Yeah.
like I hit a job, I went back to school, um, for my master's. I moved and went to school for like PhD. I ended up leaving that for another job, and then COVID happened, and so a lot of moving around. But at that time, I probably was working at the World of Coke, probably.
Because I think I was at Atlantic Station at the time. I have two memories that might be the last time I saw you in person. One was either you had like a house party or something, maybe even like a holiday party or something at the house you lived in then. So that might have been the last time, and that might have been right before I moved to LA. So maybe that made sense. Or it was we went to the movies. We went to like Dark Knight Rises or something at Atlantic Station. You and a couple of your buddies. Um, I think it was the house party though, because I think not only did I want to come to like see you or whatever, I think that was right before I moved to LA, so it's kind of like a little bit of like a goodbye too. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been 12 years ago or something, 12 or 13.
Yeah, I mean, if it was before I moved to North Carolina, it would have been, you know, before 2014,
Yeah,
before the first half of 2014, I guess. I started school in August of 2014.
yeah, because
I
you
think I
live
moved
so.
there that summer, maybe. No, I think it was August of 2014.
When you left Georgia, you went to wait, didn't you live in Knoxville for a bit?
Yeah, so I moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, um, for my master's program, and then I ended up moving to Knoxville for my PhD program, um, which I did not complete. I completed the like all of the coursework, and then so my game plan was to like go back to school for math because that's what I'd studied, and then launch from a master's program into like an applied program to try and get a job. So I jumped from that over to like engineering and then got offered a job like 3-ish years in. And so I'm like, well, if I'm doing this to get a job, why would I finish the research that I'm not really enjoying if I have a job offer?
Mhm.
And so I jumped over to that or from that over to like data science stuff, and then moved from Knoxville to Chattanooga and have gradually made my way back down to Georgia.
And where are you at now?
We're in like Metro Atlanta.
Oh,
So like north of Atlanta,
nice.
Peachtree
Are you
Corner,
are you
Courthouse
happy to
area.
be back in Georgia?
Yeah, I
Georgia.
like it better. So I briefly moved to the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, like basically Virginia, North Carolina, up in the Inner Banks area. And there was nothing in that town, and it was like I think the estimated time was something like 9.5 hours, and I don't think I ever made the trip in less than like 11. Like it was one of those things where when I was in my master's program, like I always hated how long the drive was to everywhere. And then when I was in North Carolina, um, my old like exit for grad school was like the halfway point to anywhere I was going. And that was just terrible. And that was right after COVID hit too. So like not only was I really far away from everybody, like going and seeing anybody was not only an ordeal because it took half a day to get there, plus like I had stuff to do, like work and whatever. So like I didn't get a lot of time with people when I did get to see them. And so yeah, it was really rough. So I am happy to be closer. I still don't see people as much as I probably should just because I'm a homebody. But I spend a lot of time with my dogs, but yeah, I don't I am not a super social person in that like uh well, I guess I am a social person, but like I don't like to go out a lot. Like a lot of my relationships tend to be like I keep up with people virtually pretty well, I would say. Not super great, but pretty well. And I'm like pretty fine to just like stay in and do stuff or, like I said, hang out with my dogs, but like it hit me harder than I expected it to. I didn't mind not being able to leave the house, but I think in conjunction with me being so far away, it was just not being near anybody to be able to like when stuff was lifting, people were like, "Oh my gosh, I could see the people that I haven't been able to see in so long," and I'm like, "I still can't. I still far." So
Yeah, I found myself in an interesting place during all that because I moved here September 2018, and by the time I've been here like a year and a half, so I was still like kind of getting my feet wet of like who are going to be my people, who's my community. Then that happened, and everything shut down, and some people had like their families to like turn to. Some people had like found their like little bubbles. I hadn't quite like figured out who those people were for me yet.
yeah,
So there was a little bit of I had a little bit of a like a freak out at the very beginning of just kind of like what do I do? Is the world ending? Should I be like packing up and going back home? Like what should I be doing? I don't know. But through that in a weird way, it kind of forced me to figure out who my community is. And I think if there's one like positive that came out of that whole thing, it was I made some really, really strong concrete friendships out of that where we all kind of ended up in a bubble together that it created the foundation for kind of what my community like now looks like, which is great. But
yeah,
yeah, it was definitely a little like harrowing at first because I was like, I don't know None of us obviously had ever gone through that before, but it was weird to be going through that kind of on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, so I luckily had my wife, but she also the place she was working at the time was very good about letting her be like half-time remote. Um and I maybe even full-time remote at the time of COVID. I don't exactly remember, but long story short, she was like commuting back and forth every so often. So she'd be like a couple of weeks up, you know, with us together, and then like a couple of weeks of me basically doing a long distance relationship. So I spent a lot of it alone. And then because there were like no people, like the place I worked for was like the only thing in the city I was in, right? And so like I had my coworkers, which like they were great people. I really enjoyed working with them. I think they're phenomenal people, but like a lot of them were, just different enough that we didn't have enough commonalities or like like at a different stage in their life or like whatever, whatever valid reason for us not to be like anything more than very amicable coworkers. It was just tough to like find a community, and also half the time I like wasn't super interested because I was interested in seeing my wife and hanging out with my dogs and doing all that stuff. And so I don't know, it was like I said, it was rougher than I thought. I think what really got me through was just, those online sort of relationships that I have. That the nice thing about having a friend group who you engage with virtually quite a lot is you can do that anytime, all the time. So
Are they all based like all over the place?
ish. I mean, mostly Southeast. And some of them I know from like school, from like college or grad school or whatever. And some of them I know from just like playing games and meeting them, and that happening like a decade ago. And
Mm,
just we kept playing games for a decade. And
that's
so like
fun.
there are one or two people who like either came or were invited to my wedding, who like one guy, like I invited him to my wedding and he came, and that was the first time I had met him like physically, like in person. But like we've been
Wow.
playing games together like forever. Another guy, it's so funny because people older than us, like I feel like we live in sort of a generation where we're right on that borderline of that being like the craziest thing you could say to somebody, and people younger than us being like, yeah, that's totally normal.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember like my wife and I broke down and one of my buddies lives in Florida. And I've only met him in person a handful of times. Probably you can count him on one hand. And he like drove up like several hours just to be like, yeah, I'll hang out with you and like cart you around for the weekend because like the place that can fix your car is not open, so you got to wait a day for that, and then like it's going to be in the shop for a couple of days. And so we had this like weekend we were going, can't remember what we were going for. Like my sister's graduation celebration or something. My family was doing something, and we ended up just spending that whole weekend in a hotel with like me hanging out with my buddy, playing
Oh,
like
fun.
a card game or whatever. Because I was planning to like swing by and sort of see him just because we were in the area, and he ended up driving up like I was something like 4 hours or 6 hours. Like it was several hours just to be like, well, I guess I'll come hang out. I don't really have too much else going on, which we really appreciated. But like, that's a guy who, like I said, I had met him in person like I don't know, 3 times prior to that. So,
That's
but
cool.
I mean, he's been. My wife jokes that like he's in our house every day. She can always like hear his
Oh
voice and stuff
yeah.
over the speakers. So
That's neat.
yeah. So I mean, that
How
helps.
speaking of your sister, like, how's your family?
They're good, man. Not too much to report there. My mom's retired now. Um, yeah, I don't know. They're doing their own thing. They've spread out a little bit. My mom's always doing stuff. I joke that she doesn't know that other people aren't retired. But no, she's doing great. I think she's making the best of it, which, I would love to also be retired.
Yeah, I have a friend who's both his parents are retired, and they're always on some sort of trip somewhere. They're always like he's always like picking them up at the airport because they're like coming back from Arizona, or like this time they drove across Montana or something. It's just kind of like, wow, what a I hope to retire one day.
Yeah, man, retirement sounds like a fun thing that our parents get to
Yeah.
do. Um,
It's fun.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's so wild seeing it. Yeah, it's crazy how long it's been, but at the same time, like your voice sounds the exact same. I just yeah, it's I have yeah, I feel like a lot of our friendship was in the car. Again, going places, doing things, road trips, whatever. And I have these like fun yeah, I feel comfortable right now because I feel like we're just like in the car again, which is nice.
it's funny. Yeah, it's really funny to me because like during the pandemic and all that stuff, like I gained a whole bunch of weight. I think I got up to like 310-ish.
Wow.
And then since coming back, like I did like a GLP thing as part of a drug study, and then also as, using that as sort of a launching off point, like worked really hard to lose a bunch so that I get back to the gym. Because like I worked out a bunch in college, but I'd definitely fallen off of it, and with the extra weight was like having trouble getting back. And so ended up getting as low as like 155. I like to joke that like I lost a whole knee. Um, and then, I've been back to the gym and stuff, and I'm at like 200, 210 right now. Um, but I feel like that's where I was the last time we talked, is right in this same range of like 200, 210. And so I feel like I've made this whole like journey and you just missed all of it. You're like, no, you're the same person. You're the same
Yeah,
person
let's
the whole
do it.
time.
That's funny.
But
Yeah, life cycles are weird. I lost a lot of weight last year. My goal was to, for my 40th birthday, my goal was to be at more of an ideal weight, like feel be happy myself. I took some friends to LA for a birthday trip, and I just wanted to like feel like good in my pictures and that kind of stuff. And then the moment we got back from the trip, I have gone back to the gym twice, I think. And winter up here is really rough, and all you want to do is just like eat and drink. And yeah, now I have not gained back all the weight that I lost, but I'm like, oh I got rid of a lot of my like clothes and stuff that I didn't need anymore last summer. Now I'm like, well, damn it. Now I kind of need those, I need those clothes again. But
I used getting rid of the clothes as sort, or buying new clothes really, as sort of a really strong motivator of not
yeah.
wanting to. I hate spending money on clothes. It's a weird thing about me. I just hate it so much.
Hmm.
I will wear clothes until they fall apart. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It takes a weird amount of dedication. Like I'll find that I'll like gain a few pounds and then have to work really hard to lose those few pounds. Like I fluctuate quite a bit, but I always tell people when it comes to going to the gym, and I don't think people take this seriously. I was actually just talking about it last night. But the trick is to start going and never stop, which is a really funny thing to say because like, yeah, of course it is. You know what I mean? But what I really mean by that is like I have sort of adopted this mentality that you can't ever accept that you're not going to the gym anymore, or I can't ever accept that I'm not going to the gym anymore. And what I mean by that is like, so like I had surgery a little while ago in like December, and so I ended up not going to the gym for like a couple months because like I was recovering, and then I got back to the gym too early and like hurt my back, and so then I had to go to PT, and that extended that by like another 2 weeks. So I ended up taking like almost 3 months off. But just like from a mentality standpoint, I never stopped going to the gym. I just couldn't go because of the surgery. I couldn't go because of my injuries. And so when I did finally like get cleared to go back, I was right back to going 2 to 3 days a week. And in my mind also like a planned, so when it comes to like actually working out as a hobby and being serious about it, you have to take time away from it so your muscles can recover, because if you don't, then it will actually slow how quickly you're progressing, because and you're more likely to hurt yourself and all this stuff. Right? So you actually do have to let your muscles recover. So like if you're going 3 days a week and you plan to go like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, not going Tuesday is not skipping a gym day. That is taking a planned day off that is part of your gym routine. That is not going to the gym. And so like not going on Tuesday in this example isn't a day you missed the gym. It is a day you took a plan. That was a gym day that you successfully went to. You planned not to go and you didn't go. You went right, like you adhered to the plan. And so to me, like when I started back, like I went right back to like 3 days a week, pushing 4 days a week. I'm trying to get up to 5 days a week now, just doing different stuff. And I was able to really easily fall right back into it because I never had that mentality of like, I'm not going to the gym anymore. Um, and it's really helped me. Like it's a weird mentality shift where like fundamentally like not too much is changing in terms of what I'm doing. Like I still didn't go for like 3 months because I couldn't. Um, but I never stopped going, so to speak. Like I never mentally stopped going. And so like I've fallen right back into it for the last like 3 weeks. I think I've missed like one day where I didn't go and didn't plan not to go. Um, and so it's been really good. I've been like weirdly disciplined about it. I also do weird stuff where I was joking about this the other day too, that like I can't just do the discipline thing where I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym and then I go to the gym, right? That would be too simple for my brain. So what I do instead is I have this rule for myself where if I remember to go to the gym, if I remember to go to the gym, I have to go. right?
Mhm.
Like if I forget, I can miss. That's totally fine because I forgot. Like that's not on me. But then I set a daily reminder that reminds me to go to the gym every day. So it's literally impossible for me to forget.
Yeah.
And so then I always remember, and so then I always go. I'm like, why can't you just do it the simple way? Why can't you go from A to B? It's like, no, 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 no. We'll go
It's
from
so
A to
funny
B
how
the
we have to,
simple
yeah,
way.
like sometimes like trick ourselves into like doing. I like this idea of like the mindset shift because I think if I think back to, yeah, I gave myself this goal of my birthday. That's probably where I messed up because I that was the finish line for me was because that was a specific event that I wanted to feel really good at instead of looking at the bigger picture there. And even like I felt so great. I fit into like sizes of clothes that I hadn't fit into in years. Um, I felt like I had like a certain kind of level of confidence. You would have thought that all that would have been like delicious enough to keep on it, but it was literally the moment we got back. I was really tired. It'd been like a long day of travel, and I was like, "Oh, I don't have to go to the gym tomorrow." Like I did it, and I don't know
Yeah.
why that was like I allowed myself that freedom just to be like, "Ah, like I checked that box," and I paid for that pretty quickly.
It happens really fast. Like it's I don't know, it's kind of amazing. Like I feel like I'll go like 2 weeks of just like being really good, like working out a bunch, eating really good, which is the hardest part. And then I'll have like a day where I'm like, I'm just gonna eat like shit today.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, cool. I undid all those 2 weeks. And I have to
Yeah,
start
because then the
fresh.
next day, you can find a reason to justify eating like shit again or whatever, or I don't know. Yeah, like the winter is hard because it's up here 'cause it's so cold, but then you also have all the holidays and there's a lot of food around holidays, and I just
Yeah.
don't have the right self-control or haven't unlocked that in myself to be like, well, just because 'cause you're at this thing doesn't mean you have to drink that cocktail, or just because 'cause you're at this thing doesn't mean you don't have to try all of the desserts, like
Oh
that
boy.
kind
Let
of thing, but
let me tell you what will get you to stop drinking. This probably isn't interesting to anybody, but I have this like weird eye issue where one time when I was like drinking, I guess I fell asleep and fell asleep with my eyes open, and I have a CPAP, and so it ended up drying my eyes out, and like the top layer of my eye tore off because it stuck to the inside of my eyelid. And
ugh,
now, because I'm old, that's just a thing that can happen to me.
I've
And
never
so
heard of that happening before.
it's called recurrent corneal erosion. You can look it up. It is real. Um, but I think they described it as like imagine like getting like road rash on your eyeball. Um,
Terry. Ugh.
Anyway, it's super terrible, hurts a lot, and also, I don't risk drinking because I don't want that to happen.
Well, how do they fix that? Do they give you a fake or do they how do they fix that?
Uh, they don't. I mean, really. So, like, the couple of times it's happened to me that's been really bad, they give me like just like a clear contact lens to like keep it from sticking and stuff, and just wait for it to heal. The crazy thing is like your eye heals really fast.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, but yeah, I joke that I went one time when it was really bad. My wife was in there with me, and so the doctor, without being too graphic, the doctor was like doing something to my eye. She had like numbed it and was like doing something. And of the two people involved in that thing happening to my eye that the doctor was doing, it was terrible for all three of us.
Ugh.
Like just everybody was having a bad time. Like the doctor didn't seem like they were having a good time. I definitely was having a good time, and the look on my wife's face, she also was not enjoying watching it. And so, yeah, I like to joke that of the two people involved, three people had an awful experience with it. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
crazy how your eyes do things. I got shot in the face with a paintball once, and it hit my eyebrow, like the bone under your eyebrow. I thought my eye had exploded because my eye immediately swole shut and there was like liquid around my eye. And I thought, oh my, and it was like yellow and like gooey. The paintball was a yellow paintball. That's what it was. But I thought my eyeball had exploded. But what ended up happening is my retina was like a little bit ruptured. And what they did to go in there and fix whatever, there was like a little like rip basically in my eye. And they went and to encourage the eye to heal that piece of it, they basically took a scalpel and just sliced a little sliver next to it that was, like, clean,
Hmm.
and then my eye, like, healed itself. I mean, I had to, like, put these drops in my eyes for, like, weeks. I couldn't
Oh, for sure.
bend over for a while. I had to sleep sitting up for a couple weeks. I was teaching at the time, and anytime I would, like, drop, like, the marker board marker on the floor, I had to do this weird, like, dropping it low thing with, like, my ass sticking out because I couldn't, like, bend my head over. Um, but, Yeah, it was insane. Whenever they told me what they were going to do to fix it, that was terrifying to know there's going to be a scalpel that close to my eyeball. But it's also crazy that that's like what did it, what fixed it. Wild.
Speaking of having to drop it low, here's a fun story about the first time I ever rode an ambulance.
Okay.
This happened recently. This happened so we have spoken obviously to set this up fairly recently, but this is like since the last time we spoke.
Okay.
So I had that surgery, and because I'm a crazy person, tried to get back to the gym way too early. And it turns out when you have stomach surgery, you can't feel your stomach super great, and then you compensate for like that core strength with your back without realizing it. So I was like getting the dogs ready to take them out, and like felt my back kind of give out, which is like happened to me before, like a handful of times. But like you kind of like can't breathe for a second, and like it feels weird in your back, and so like I recovered from that. It was fine. But later that same day, uh, I stood up and like was wearing these sweatpants over some shorts, and like went to take those sweatpants off, like totally normal movements, nothing weird, and my back just like seized. And I don't even really know how to describe the pain, but it felt like something was like squeezing on my spine, just like sharp pains. I don't think that's what was actually happening. I think it was actually more akin to just like a cramp in my lower back. But I felt like my spine was going to be shattered. It felt terrible.
Oof.
And so I ended up like getting to like laying on the ground. And over the course of like it was something like 6 or 8 hours, like trying to stand up, just going between laying and trying to stand up for like 6 to 8 full hours. And it's funny at the beginning of it, my wife is just standing there, like completely unable to help, like not knowing what to do. And she's like, maybe we should call an ambulance. And I believe my exact quote was, I will die before I get into an ambulance. So anyway, several hours later at 3 o'clock in the morning, after I'd just been laying there and like literally couldn't even roll over, just like couldn't move, was like, okay, I think we should call an ambulance. I think she looked it up and was like, because in my mind, I've always heard of like how crazy expensive ambulances are, them being like
Yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars or whatever. And she's like, it's like $600 to get to get an ambulance ride to the hospital. And I was like, all right, call the ambulance. Not that I could really afford the $600, but like it's that in my brain, it was like 20 grand, and I'm like, we're not. I will
Yeah.
die here.
What deal? I
And
love that. I love this conversation of us catching up. It's just us talking about our body ailments. Like this is like peak old men having conversation.
Well, it's also actually really funny because I am other than my back injury that like I've been going to physical therapy for and I'm like rehabilitating and stuff. Like other than that, like I had this surgery because of all the weight that I lost, right? Like I'm actually in probably the best shape. Maybe not like endurance, like I did a lot more cardio when I was younger, but like certainly with like strength and stuff, I'm in like close to the best shape of my life. Maybe if not the best, I'm in like the second best shape of my life. Like I'm actually doing phenomenal.
Did you do track and field in high school?
I
Am I
did
remembering that?
cross country
Cross country.
for
Okay.
yeah, I did cross country. So I played soccer when I was younger,
That's right.
and a bunch of my friends did cross country, and so I was like, oh, I'll do cross country to like get my endurance up for the soccer season. And it turns out cross country, I don't know if you know this, it's just running, and also I really hate running. And so I ended up like not playing soccer because I was like, I am tired of running and I need a break.
Yeah.
And so I did that for I think like my junior year or senior, maybe it was my senior year, and then I don't know, the following like my last chance to play I didn't or something. I don't really remember. It's been a long time.
I've never been like a fan of running. I did recently buy a new pair of running shoes to try to convince myself to use this spring and summer to like just, even if I don't actually run, to at least just like jog around town, like just get back. I want to get back in shape. Going to the gym is like one thing. I get intimidated there. I want to have like more fun ways to get in shape. So that's why I'm like, oh, I should just like go for long walks, go for runs, do that kind of stuff. I just bought a bike. So I'm gonna start biking, like even if it's just biking to like our like watering hole that we all go to. That's like something. And then we play, we have kickball and stuff. But I actually this past Sunday I pitched the entire game, which I was really proud of. I did a good job, but my right shoulder is sore from like the pitching motion, and then my left right around my like, waist is sore because of the way your like leg goes,
Yeah.
and just that movement in my body, like the right and left sides of my body are both sore. I've never experienced that before. Like, wow, even since last year when I pitched, like my body is aging. I'm slowly dying is what's happening.
I think you're just not used to it. I think that would happen regardless. Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
I really do. I think a part of getting older is that we move less, to be completely honest. Like I
We
think
don't have recess every day and stuff, you know?
yeah, like don't get me wrong, in like your 50s and 60s, I'm sure a lot of it is aging, but like in our 30s and 40s, I think it's just that you move less. Like in your teens and 20s, like you have the opportunity, and even earlier, like you have the energy and the opportunity to move a lot more. Um, Going back to the gym thing though and being intimidated, I promise you, no one in the gym is judging you. Most of them aren't even paying attention to you because they are so focused on doing their own thing. And if they are, they're not worth you caring about their opinion.
Yeah, I've thought that
Um,
before. I'm like, oh, like everyone else here looks so beautiful and in shape and stuff. This is specifically a memory I had whenever I was at the gym in LA once, and I was like, but you know what? Like, I'm also here. Like, we're all here trying to like be better versions of ourselves.
that
But
is so. I'll give you two secrets. One, that is what every person thinks. Like
mm,
any person in the gym deserves to be there because they are in the gym and they are automatically, I'm going to use the word better than all the people who didn't bother to show up
yeah,
just by virtue of being there. Number two, the common joke, at least among the like quote unquote gym bro like community, like I'm on like gym bro Instagram and stuff because I like to joke that I'm fully embracing the culture. But is that like everybody there I don't know if I would call it like a body dysmorphia thing. I think that's too extreme. But like the meme is every time you look in the mirror, like all you see is someone who is smaller than they want to be,
mm,
right? You see where you're going, you don't see where you're at. And so I think most people are too focused on what they're doing to really care about what you're doing. And after I lost a bunch of weight, I also lost a bunch of muscle mass and I was going to the gym. I started at 5 pound weights. I quickly moved up to 10 pounds. From there, after some time, I moved up to 15, and now I'm doing more in the dumbbells. I'm still doing way less than I want to be doing. But like everybody starts somewhere, everybody knows how hard it is, everybody remembers being there. Um, and the other big tip that I tend to give, and I guess there are two more. One, find the thing that you like doing and just do that because you're not going to show up if you hate what you're doing every day, right?
mm,
That's not to say you're going to love it from the moment you go. Like for me, like working out sucks. There's a lot of days that I don't want to go, but like once I've done it and once I feel tired or if I feel sore the next day, I feel like I've done something. I feel good. I have energy. Like all of those things are what make me going and why I say that I love lifting. That's not to say that I enjoy it every single minute of every single day. That's not to say that there aren't days that I really don't want to go. So that's one. And then number two, like the other thing is like 80% of it is just showing up. Because if you could just go to the gym and be there, well, then you're at the gym and you're like, well, I got an hour that I've got to be here or 30 minutes or however long it is. Like I might as well do something.
yeah,
And you start doing something. And even if you have to like go down 10 pounds, go down to half the weight you were lifting yesterday or the week prior or whatever, even if you have to do way less, the fact that you did something still means you did something, right?
mm,
You're still doing activity. You're burning calories. Like if your muscles are tired and you're still doing something. You're continuing that routine. Even if the workout sucks, like you showed up, you did the routine, you never quit, you know what I mean? Like you never stopped going. And so I genuinely believe that if you follow like those two things, like find something you enjoy so that there are days when it is easy and just show up on the days when it's hard, even if the workout sucks. Like I've had days that I've left and I'm like, I did basically nothing. The workout was terrible. I hated it. It only made me feel worse. But it was another day I went. And so it like cemented itself into my routine. And I could tell myself, even if everything was terrible about that, I went and that is going to be today's victory. That's what's kept me going. I don't know if it'll work for everybody genuinely, but that's what's worked for me.
yeah. I think I'm sure for a lot of people are in the same boat I am, where you just get in your own head and you find all the you're fighting with yourself about even just feeling the motivation to go, and then B, you get there and it's kind of like, well, A, because you have been going, you like don't really know what to do, and there's the actual like, you naturally fall into the trap of comparing yourself. I remember this one time I was on like the treadmill or something and I just didn't want to be there. The person next to me was just like booking it and like whatever. And I just had this like feeling of like, well, I just showed up though, so I don't want to, again, thinking that everyone's watching me. I'm like, well, I can't leave now. I've only been here for like 10 or 15 minutes. All these people just saw me show up. So then I faked an emergency phone call where I like out loud was like, what? Oh, I'm on my way right now. Like, hold on. And just so I could like leave, just because I was just like, when I got in my car, I was like, nobody cared. No one was clocking that I was there, but I felt, yeah, I didn't want to be there, and I needed an out, and that was my like ridiculous way of getting out. I'm sure the person next to me couldn't even hear that because they had their earphones in, and whatever. But
They were
I
thinking
needed
about
to,
how
yeah, I
hard
needed to
they
get
were
out.
thinking about how hard that pace that they were setting was. That's what they were thinking about. They were looking
Exactly.
at their clock and being like, "It's been 4 minutes. I thought it had been like 15." Right? Like
Exactly.
they're having the same thoughts you are, and I think a lot of that is everywhere in life. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Is that like we see the results of what a lot of other people are doing. We don't see the work it took to get those results. And so we assume that like things are easy or they're just naturally better or they just naturally got there. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like you didn't see all the work that went into it. Like
The
everybody's,
sacrifices they made, like all that.
yeah, like you didn't hear that internal monologue of like, oh my God, I can't believe it's only been 4 minutes. Like, am I going to make my goal was 20? Am I even going to make it to 10? Like, you don't get to hear their internal monologues. And so, like, I think when we look at people around us, things look easier than they are. And at a certain point, you just have to accept that like everybody's going through it. The human experience is genuinely not that different. Sure, maybe there are small predispositions toward this or that, but like most people have gone through the same thing.
Mhm.
And so, like, let me tell you, I think 3 days this week, of the 3 days that I went to the gym, I texted people and was like, I don't want to go today. You know what I mean? And I've been going, I mean, obviously I had that break in the middle, but like I've been going for years now, you know? And like still all the time. Like I have to trick myself into being like, if you remember, you're not allowed to skip. You know what I mean? And trust me, like I will look like yesterday I got the reminder on my computer because I have it as like on my work computer where it reminds me on Outlook. It pops up and it's like workout and I saw it and was like, "Damn, I remembered I've got to go." Like, the reminder that I step beat me again, you know? And so like I think it's the same for everybody. You just got to kind of for me, I have to set rules that I am not allowed to break. One of those rules is like you have to spend 20 to 30 minutes at the gym. If you show up, you have to be there for at least 20 or 30 minutes. Doesn't matter what you do. The other thing to do the whole like I couldn't figure out what to do is I had a buddy who was working out at the time who helped actually get me into it. And I was like, I keep not going. I texted him. I was like, I keep not going to the gym. Like I keep just not going, and my excuse keeps being I need to come up with a workout plan. Like I can't go if I don't know what to do because then I'll just stand there aimlessly. I won't know what to do, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I don't care what it is. I don't care how good it is. My goals are to do something comprehensive. I need you to put together a workout plan and I need you to send it to me. And he did that. And lo and behold, it's like very straightforward stuff. It's like do a little bit of bench press, do a little bit of like back workout, do a little bit of like curls and triceps and shoulders. And you just do like when I started especially, it was like one chest, one back, one biceps, one shoulders, one legs, one core. It was 6 workouts. And he's like, you just do these. He's like, it's about an hour. Just do one of each of the normal shit that people always tell you to do. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything I had to look up. It's just normal stuff that you would do, right? It's the push-ups, sit-ups equivalent of like lifting weights. And I'm like, I know all these workouts. I could have put this together. Like, this
No.
is very straightforward. And I went and I did it, and it was hell on earth. And I kept going and I kept doing it and it got a little easier and the weights got to go up a little bit and that's very exciting. The other really exciting thing when you first start is that as with anything, your early progress is like weirdly fast. And then the bad thing about working out is your progress stops at a certain point. It doesn't really, but like it's like with dieting. Like it's just so slow as to be imperceptible. Like you can only see it over time and you're like, man, I miss when I was getting bigger. Or like I miss when I was losing weight faster, like whatever, right? Um, but I also don't want this all to all be about my working out thing, but that's I don't know. I do feel like I joke about this a lot about me becoming a gym bro or whatever, but I do feel like when it comes to working out, because certain elements of it suck really bad, right? Like you are putting stress on your body and that's not always fun, right? Like you are getting out of breath and that's not always fun. Is the reason it becomes so many people's personality is because it has to become a hobby or else you won't do it. Like you have to trick yourself into loving it or else you'll hate it.
And that's also where I feel like I kind of messed myself up last year because I gave myself the whole goal wasn't the be the better version of myself, lose this weight, whatever. It was specific to that birthday trip instead of, I think you're right, like it becoming a part of my routine, a part of my daily life, a part of like just me doing what's best for me, And
Trick is to start going and never stop,
there you go.
right?
We're almost at time. I want to ask one more like existential thing that's like changing the gears a little bit.
Yeah, hit me up.
But I would say out of everyone I've talked to so far, you were the person I have known the longest, but have like not been in regular contact with the most. Am I saying that right? I think I'm saying that right. But like it's interesting when you have these like connections with people who are important in a certain part of your life, but there's always like they always exist there somewhere, forever. And those people that like you pick up and it just feels like you just kind of like picked right back up kind of a thing. What do you think? Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think psychologically or whatever? Like, there are definitely people who I haven't seen in the same amount of time as you that I feel like if we were going to have a conversation, we wouldn't even really know what to talk about, and we may have been close at one point too. But what do you think what's the secret formula there for like why certain relationships are the way they are?
Can I say the trick is to start being friends and never stop?
There you go. Yeah.
No, but I think it is that. I think that like people drift apart, and that's fine. Where everybody's at different stages of their life. Life is a different path for every person. And so I think for me at least, part of it was to like stop gripping so hard and accept the fact that like just because people move away, just because you lose contact doesn't mean you're not friends anymore. Like legitimately, like it doesn't mean that I do think it is valuable to try and be better at keeping up with people, right? Like
Mhm.
after this podcast, especially, we talked a little bit. Like I would like to be better about keeping in touch. I would like to sort
Mhm.
of rekindle that flame, so to speak. But I do think it's kind of accepting that like people are going to have to go through their own stuff and you may go through things at different points and just being open to like catching back up. And I think the catching up part is for me at least is just easy because it's just like, hey, what stuff happened that I don't know about? And then you talk about the
Yeah.
stuff that happened, but it's then just getting back into I don't know. Do you care about those people? Do you like are you in not care about like that's not the right phrasing, but like are you invested in continuing to know somebody? And maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? Like maybe you are invested in continuing to know them and what that takes the shape of uh the one time you're catching up and that's a really great experience and you put that back on hold for some period of time and maybe you get the opportunity to do that again, maybe you don't, but I think it is for me at least is just leaving it open ended. It's that like
Yeah.
jokingly but also true, it's that like just because we haven't talked in a long time doesn't mean we're not friends anymore. It just means that I've been really bad about keeping up with you. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a two-way street first off, but I also think like, yeah, there are some like tangible things like proximity is really important to any relationship you have. Whether that's friends, family, romantic, whatever, time proximity and like location proximity. Those are all things that just naturally make it easier to be more intentional. But I also think you're reminding me of a thing I recently had like read about, we always call like formative years is usually whenever you're like post high school, maybe your 20s are usually like your formative years. But in reality, we're kind of always in our formative years because every
If you're doing it
new
right.
like yeah, every like new piece of life is like introducing a new challenge or a new exciting thing that you get to like you're at a fork in the road of having to make a decision. Do I take this new job? Which means I'm saying goodbye to a lot of people that I see every day, but it's a new opportunity. We're constantly there's always going to be like opportunities, hopefully, to see what the next chapter is like, which means you're constantly being formed into a new version of yourself. And I guess maybe that's where like if you had to like narrow down who or rank people, I guess, and like importance in your life, I feel like maybe that's where you end up with some of those connections of people like my friend Caitlin. I think you met Caitlin before, like from college. I haven't seen her in probably in person in like 10 years, but she's another person where I feel like the moment we like are on the phone together or something, it's literally like time that 10 years did not exist because it just picks back up. But we were, and that's how I kind of feel whenever you and I connected briefly on the phone, 6 or 7 months ago, it
Yeah.
just kind of felt like, oh, Terry and Scotty like talking on the phone, and I think Yeah, it's interesting how those people like cement themselves depending on when they came into your life, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I also just I don't know. It's it's tough because like there are people that there are people who I've been friends with, which was largely due just to proximity, right? It's
Mhm.
like for lack of better options. And then there are other people who like you meet, you make a real connection with, and you share something. And I think a lot of the time it can be tough to exactly describe what that something is, but whether it's like common interests or whether it's just like a common way of viewing the world or whether it's that you like how they challenge you or just like the conversation or like whatever it may be. I think when you reconnect with those people, you remember what it is that made you connect, that
Mhm.
indescribable thing. And so with the people who were just like, I need someone who's not terrible to be around versus like, I need someone who
Yeah.
I actually like being around. I think that's really it's ethereal. Like it's not that I can sit here and describe exactly what it is for you,
Yeah.
but I think for
Well,
me, that's the difference. Like I've had people who I consider really good friends who like, they left my life and I haven't even really thought about reaching back out to them, because
yeah,
I'm like, they were there. This is going to sound utilitarian, but like they kind of served their purpose and hopefully I served
absolutely, yeah.
my purpose in their lives and like they were what I needed them to be and I hope I was what they needed me to be and I don't know, I just don't really like not that I'd be upset if they came back into my life and we reconnected. I think that would be awesome, but like I also just don't feel a strong need versus, other people like I don't know, throughout the years even though we haven't been good about catching up, I've thought, "Oh, like I wonder what Scotty's up to. Like I should text him." Right? Like I
Mhm.
think you texted me about being in a dodgeball tournament at one point and I was like, brother, I am 300 pounds. I can barely move. But like that kind of stuff, just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know if that
and
was a
I
real
think
answer, but
well, and like to make this like full circle from the beginning of our conversation, there's those things too that people like, whether they realize it or not, have like implanted in you. Whether that's they introduce you to a band that you're always going to like the rest of your life, or even just like a memory a little bit. And then you have those others that you're right, they kind of served a purpose, but it was a momentary thing. It was like it was like situational in that moment. I think people who are in some of the communities we found ourselves in growing up, like church or even just small town communities and stuff, you kind of find some of those connections you have are just because they're there and you're there.
well,
It
and
wasn't
like
you
I
didn't,
don't know,
you know.
humans are social creatures, right? Like
Yeah,
you need a group, and so you'll
yeah.
make the best group you can. And some of those people are actually like you, and you're fortunate, and some of them aren't, and you're with them as long as you have to be, or etc. And I don't know.
Well, I'm glad that you're one of the people in my life that didn't just serve a purpose for like a momentary time. I'm glad that
Yeah, I imagine this wouldn't be happening if that were the case.
that's true, yeah. And I'm glad that for better or worse, I have the best campfire story to share. So our really, really bad decisions.
Please don't send this to my parents.
Well, thank you so much. I love you, and I'm gonna be more intentional about staying in touch.
Yeah, man. Well, you too. I'm gonna send you way too many pictures of the gym to help get you
Yeah,
out.
please do.